All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. As you can see, we're in a bit of a different location. It's a little bit loud here. The Oosterschelde is now in South Africa, in Cape Town, but I am a ways down the coast, just outside of Hans Bay. And this morning I hopped on a little Zodiac and we made our way across to Dyer Island. It is an amazing place out here in the ocean. There is a ton of bird life here, breeding colonies of birds. It's loud, it's chaotic. There's smells, but there's nowhere I'd rather be right now. This is absolutely amazing. And lucky for us, I have an amazing guest here with us today who's going to tell us about the island, about the birds, about the conservation work that's happening here. I've got Luando hanging out with me. I am going to switch my camera view here. And we're going to get Luando in here nice front and center. Here we go. You should see him right about now. There we go. Morning, Luando. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Luando Baleni, and I am a seabird ranger here on Dyer Island Nature Reserve. So, as Joe has mentioned, we're on Dyer Island Nature Reserve. It's about 20 hectares in size, and it's a beautiful, beautiful nature reserve. And it's full of pristine beauty, wonderful, wonderful birds here. And we're blessed with marine life as well. So, basically, we have Cape cormorants, we have white-breasted cormorants, we have the critically endangered African penguins, which is one of the main priority species here on the island. Right behind me, we also have swift terns, which are currently breeding at the moment. So there might be a lot going on, but this is one of our best protected areas here in the Western Cape.
All right. Well, I would love to start with a little bit more about you. So what's your official role out here?
So I'm a seabird ranger, so I basically work on monitoring things here on the island. I do patrols, I do law enforcement patrols, so I go around to the different colonies. As you can see, we have one colony just behind me, as we mentioned. So I go out there and I monitor the progress. I look at the behavioral patterns, and I look at general condition, if there are any sick or injured birds, birds that need rehabilitation. We also have an African seabird and penguin sanctuary that is in Gansbaai. So I basically communicate with my colleagues, and then we try and get the penguins off to get the necessary care that they need. So there's a lot of things that we do here on the island, but the priority at the moment is the bird species. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to get into a little bit more, but I can't resist getting a little view of some penguins over here.
Perfect.
Can you tell us a little bit about the South African penguin?
Yes. So the critically endangered African penguin is one of our species that are found here in Southern Africa. And at the moment, as you can see, the penguins are breeding. So right in front of us, we have chicks here, which are chick size P2s. So they're beautiful chicks. It's a good time. This is the breeding season at the moment. So usually around about middle of February, start of February, middle of February, they start going into breeding season, and they basically start breeding all the way until September, October, towards the end of the year. Once they are finished breeding, the chicks are then they basically released from their nests, and they can basically go out and forage for themselves and go out in the wild and basically live for themselves. Interesting thing about the African penguins is they have to wait 4 years in order for them to breed. So the chicks of last year's breeding season cannot breed until 4 years has passed. So it's a very interesting penguin species, and it's one of our predominant penguin species. Actually, one of the only penguin species that we find in this area of Southern Africa. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try and slowly get a touch closer, but just for those who will be tuning in, we can't get really close.
Yes.
They are skittish. We don't want to get close anyways and disturb them, but I might, if I go slowly, might be able to get a tiny bit closer.
Yes.
To give us a little closer of a view. See how they cooperate. The terns don't like it.
Yeah, the terns don't like it. They're very sensitive when they breed, and so I think we can just move slightly forward to the right-hand side.
Towards the right. Okay, perfect.
Just to give them a bit of space.
Yeah.
So generally the rule is slow movements, no sudden movements, because they're very big on body language, and they can pick up sort of fast movements. Obviously, that's one of the things that helps them out in the wild, because they have to be very vigilant.
Yeah, of course.
Watching out for predators and so forth. So the interesting thing about the African penguins is they're very good swimmers. They're actually excellent swimmers, and they spend about half of their lifespan in water. So usually in a 24-hour day, they spend about 12 hours in the water, foraging for fish, mainly sardines, and yeah, so they they are one of our special species as well. They are birds, as we all know, but they do not fly. They have the specialized flippers, which helps the swimming. They also have the waterproofing. It's almost like a extra layer of protection for cold and harsh weathers, and also staying for extended periods of time in water. So that definitely helps them. And once a year, they get rid of their fur, they get rid of their feathers, and yeah, they go through this process called molting, getting rid of the feathers and getting a new coating. So that's very essential.
Okay. And then they also have a cool adaptation in the water. It's counter shading
Yes,
to
yes,
help
yes.
hide from predators.
Yes, that is absolutely true, absolutely true. So if you notice, they have the white coat on the bottom and the dark coat on the top. So basically, foraging around maybe a kelp forest or something like that. If a predator like a cave fur seal is going around from the top, it won't necessarily be able to differentiate between the kelp and the penguin. So that's one of the adaptations, as you have mentioned, that helps them a lot, especially in the wild. But the interesting thing about them is they swim for long periods of time, and they also have to go relatively further because of the threats towards the sardine overfishing and oil spills, etc., etc. So there's a lot of challenges that they do face, which explains why the population numbers are looking as dire as they are.
Okay. I'm going to back up a little. Let's get you back on camera.
All right, perfect.
And let's talk a little bit about just in general, they're endangered. How many South African penguins do you figure we have in South Africa?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So they are critically endangered. I'm not entirely certain at the moment how much we do have, but I do know on the island we have just under 900 breeding pairs. So that is a considerable decrease. But one thing that is important to note, as early as the 1960s, there were about 90% more African penguins. So we've lost quite a lot. We've lost quite a lot, but there's a lot of initiatives that are in place. There's a lot of conservation work that is being done in order to help facilitate the stability in the population. We're working with the fishing industry as well, sort of spreading awareness to all the different industries about the importance of the African penguin population and ensuring that we have this piece of history and this piece of heritage that we can sort of extend for many years to come.
All right. Tell me a little bit about these boxes we're seeing here. What's
Yeah.
going on with these?
So we have our artificial nest over here. Almost one thing that is interesting about these nests, they are designed in order to ensure that there is airflow. So basically, when it's extremely hot, the air circulates through the nest. There's holes at the back of the nest as well. So they are made with sort of a almost like this paper mache type of material, and we basically layer them on top of each other. And this is one of our nest projects that we've been working on for the past couple of years, and it's also um, facilitates the penguins as well. Because the interesting thing about this island is many years ago it was full of guano. So basically, that is a mixture of the substances that they secrete. So basically, they used to burrow into the guano and have the sort of a perfect layer of protection away from predators and away from gulls, etc., that would predate on their eggs. So this is one of the initiatives that we were working on to sort of counteract that loss of guano over the years that we've had all over the island.
Yeah, it was harvested pretty
Yes, it was
extensively.
harvested. Yeah, it was used for fertilizer, and yeah, there was a lot of things that took place. But we're working hand in hand with our partners as well to sort of establish this nest project that we're working on, and it's been pretty successful. We have well over 300 nests on the island, and the penguins are occupying the nests, so that's a positive sign for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to move a little bit, see if we can find someone hanging out in a nest.
Yes, I think we have an adult, two adults, I think. In this.
Oh, in one of those? Which
Yes,
one?
in the first one.
Oh, yeah,
on the
yeah, I
right-hand
see.
side, you can just
Let me get low and see if we can get a little view in there.
yeah, so we have an adult in there as well. And yeah, they occupy these nests, which is a positive sign. It's a sign of progress for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And then, I mean, it's not just the penguins that take advantage of this island.
Yes.
You've got this massive group of terns here. You can tell us a little bit about the terns?
Swift terns, yes. This is one of our popular species here on the island. They've been on the island for as long as I can remember. And yeah, so basically they're also going into breeding season as well. We also have the common terns, which come here to the island to breed as well. And we also have so swift terns, common terns. We have some Arctic terns as well. Every once in a while, they do come to visit us. We have the rosier terns as well. So there's a lot of tern species that occupy the island and see this almost as a safe haven because we have minimal human disturbance as well. So they can nest in peace and go about their daily affairs in peace. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this island, is this an island that, tourists can generally visit, or is it more closed off for conservation and protection?
Yes, this island is closed off for conservation and protection because we have such a sensitive species here on the island, and we genuinely try to limit the disturbance and limit the impact that people have. Even when we do have guests, we usually try to have groups of about 4 or 5 people at a time, and also not getting too close, not disturbing the penguins, not disturbing all the different bird species that are here as well. So this place is dedicated specifically to conservation, yeah.
Yeah.
Protected area as well.
And then how long do you stay on the island? How long do you stay on before you get a break?
All right, so I generally stay for about three weeks, and then 1 week I spend off the island. So I get some time to rest and recover and spend some time with close family and friends. Yeah. So usually 3 weeks I'm on the island, and then 1 week I'm off the island as well.
Yeah. So give us a snapshot of like a typical day. What would a typical day look like for you on the
I
island?
wake up at about 6:30, get fresh, get some coffee, freshen up, and then I start my patrols at about 7 o'clock, 7:15. I go out on the island. I got my binoculars, I got my notepad, I got my GPS, I got my camera as well, just to take some nice photos and see if there's any changes in patterns, changes in the conditions here on the island. So I would start my patrols. We have different zones on the island, so I basically go all along the coast, all along the inner parts of the island, go to the colonies, go out and see if there's any damage to the nests, if there's any injured penguins, any oiled penguins, any penguins that need rehabilitation. And I would go around looking at the nests, also assessing sort of the chicks, if there are chicks, it's breeding season, how the condition is looking like. And then I would go all the way to the back. I would also look at things like predation. If there's any predation activities that are taking place on the island, I would genuinely note that on my notepad. I'll take a GPS, locate that specific location so that we know on our database which areas are more prone to predation and which areas are not prone to predation. And then I'd basically continue my walk. I'd spend that about 2.5, 3 hours doing that patrol. I'd come back, I'd capture my data in the office and then update whoever I need to update, whether it's Cape Nature officials, whether it's officials from TICT. And then I would communicate with them, sit with them, sort of come and try to formulate plans, work on sort of strategies, how we can improve certain things. And then round about, I'd say about 11 o'clock, I get a break. 12 o'clock, I'd go out again, do another patrol, assess the situation, look at the conditions. And then at about 2:30, I'd come back again. And then from there on, I'd contact management, sort of discuss what needs to be done, what are our plans for the next day, plans for the week, and so forth. And then that would conclude my day at roughly 4 o'clock, 4:30.
All right.
Yeah.
And so I've got some questions coming in the chat here.
Yes.
And the first one is, what part of your job do you enjoy the most?
Definitely interacting with the critically endangered African penguin. Yeah, they bring a lot of joy to me as well because I'm physically in contact with them. If there are any injured penguins, I physically have to actually capture them. So I definitely enjoy working with the African penguins. For me, it was the first time I was exposed to this type of environment when I worked on the island. So it was a unique experience, and it's definitely a joy for me as well.
Yeah. And so then the next question is, it's probably not all easy. So what's really challenging about being out here?
Right. So isolation is a challenge. You definitely have to be prepared mentally, physically. You have to keep yourself in check. You have to constantly be active. You have to basically be ready for the challenge. I'd say isolation, the distance sometimes becomes a challenge. Weather conditions at times, if there's too much rain, if the swell is too high, we have to postpone certain things. So that would be one of our main challenges, the isolation and the distance. But there are measures in place to sort of counter that. Yeah.
All right. And so we were talking before. You said that the penguins feed at night. Is that when they're out most?
Yes, they feed both during the day and at night, but they basically take shifts. So Um, if it's breeding season, there would be two parents, obviously in the nest, and one parent would go the early morning shift and go throughout the day until about late afternoon, and then after that late afternoon, early evening shift, the other parent would go. So basically, one parent would stay with the chicks or would stay with the eggs, keep the eggs nice and warm, or feed the chicks, and then they would basically rotate. So during the day and during the night. So it works both ways. Yeah.
So 2 chicks is pretty common.
Yes, two chicks. That's the standard. Two chicks.
All right. And then um, the if you came across a bird that was injured or sick in any way, would you assist in any way?
Yes, I would assess. So basically, I would approach the bird with caution. You have to be very sensitive with injured birds because you don't want to cause any more damage than there already is. So basically, I would approach the bird. I would be wearing all my personal protective equipment. I would approach the bird. I would pick the bird up. I would take it to our hospital over here. We have a setup as well. So basically, I would see if I can apply any disinfectant to the bird if there's a wound or a bite mark. If the bird is oiled, I would try to wash out the oil out of the bird's feathers, and then I would basically communicate with management. I would communicate with apps, and then basically inform them that we have an injured bird over here. Send some photographs, and then we would take the necessary measures to get the bird off the island. So usually I would get on my kayak and I would row out to one of the boats, one of the shark boats, get there, get the bird off the island in one of our boxes, and then basically send it back to the rehabilitation center, which is located in Gansbaai.
All right. So I want to do a little pan here just to give people an idea of how big the island is. You can see the ocean over there. You can look across here. We see more nest boxes, lots of bird activity. And then there we go. Right there on the other side, we already see the ocean there behind us. So it's not a very big island, but it's really important for the South African penguin.
It might not be the biggest island in southern Africa, but it's one of the most important islands as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we continue the work that we're doing on the island to sort of make the difference, make the change we want to see. Yeah.
And then there in the distance, there's a group of birds, that black group. Are those cormorants?
Yes, those are Cape Cormorants. Those are Cape Cormorants.
All right. What a beautiful office. I can see that it's kind of noisy.
Yes.
But yeah, to spend your time doing something so important and protecting this species.
Yes. It gives me a lot of purpose as well. Doing this kind of work, working in conservation and sort of, as I mentioned before, trying to make a difference. But yeah, it's one of the best offices I've ever had.
Yeah. And so, what is it that inspired you to pursue a career in nature, in conservation?
Interestingly enough, when I was only 9 years old, I was taken to like a zoo, which is kind of ironic because like a zoo is not always, it's not pro conservation at times. But the point I'm trying to make is I was exposed to lions, tigers, snakes, Cape cobras. I was exposed to cheetahs. I was exposed to hyenas. I mean, that experience captivated me so much that I almost made it my mission to be actively involved in conservation and try to work hand in hand with animals and like be active. But yeah, that experience definitely changed my life. So from about the age of 9 years old, when I was exposed to that, I basically dedicated my life to conservation and working with wildlife.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I can't help. We're nice and close here to get another look coming out. Is it visually, can you tell the difference between male or female, or do you have to inspect more closely?
No, you can't tell between male and female. So you have to inspect closely. And usually when they are mating, you'll be able to differentiate. But if that doesn't work, they will usually take blood samples. And in the blood samples, you'll be able to differentiate between male and female.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been, it's amazing to get to spend some time with you
Definitely.
on this island. We're doing it all thanks to our satellite connection here, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so we're going to spend the rest of our time here walking around a little. We're going to collect some more content,
Absolutely.
pictures, video.
Yes.
We'll do another nice little interview.
Okay.
But Lwando, it's such a pleasure to be able to be out here with you.
Yes.
And bring this island to students. Let them experience the conservation work that you're doing.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine, and I'm glad that the classroom could share this experience with us all. It's always good to sort of create that dialogue and create that platform for us to have these kind of discussions so we can create awareness, of the importance of conservation as a whole, but also the importance of like working hand in hand and sort of getting the message out there that, we can all make a difference and we can all play our role to ensure that, we maintain the biodiversity that we've been blessed to have.
All right. I'm going to switch my camera around one more time. There we go. A huge shout out to everybody who was able to tune in, who will be catching in North America the recording because it's obviously quite early in North America. We got our friend coming out for a sign off. There we go. Thanks, buddy. Oh, and I think maybe Q is coming out. A nice pair there. Very, very cool. Can't help but take advantage of this right before we sign out. A nice little close-up shot. All right, stay tuned because later in the day, we're going to attempt to live stream a shark dive using the drone, the ROV, out on a ship. Should be pretty cool. Hopefully the technology works for us. But for now, we're going to sign off. We're going to collect some more content. Thanks so much, everybody, for being with us today.